Alright, welcome to KLOS Guitars. Today we are going to be restringing a guitar, putting new strings on. Some people change their strings every 2 weeks or every week if they perform a lot, if they play a lot. Other people don't change their strings for a year. I don't recommend that. But a good balance is maybe every month or every 3 months is probably a good time frame to change your strings. Some people like to cut the strings. I don't really like to cut the strings. Some people also like to only untune one string at a time and replace them. If you plan on cleaning your guitar and cleaning your fretboard, you're going to want to take all the strings off. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take them all off at once and then put new ones back on. So the first thing you want to do is loosen the strings. So play a note and then loosen the string so that you hear the tension going down. If you make the tension go up on accident, the string might pop and hit you in the face, and that's not a good thing. So yeah, you want to play a note and then untune your string. You want to untune until you can feel that there's about one finger's width underneath maybe an adjacent string. That's about a good amount of unwinding. And you can hear when it goes up like that, it means that it's getting tighter. You want to make sure that it's getting looser. Make sure that all the strings are loose, and then we're ready to take the strings off. Now, there are a couple ways to take the pegs off. I'm going to show you all the ways that we've used. The first way is to use a business card and to kind of put the business card up against the edge of the pegs, and then you use some snips and you kind of just wedge it up. The reason why I use a business card is because you don't want to get any metal dents, any dents from the snips in your bridge, and you can kind of wedge the pegs up like that. Another way is to grab something hard and stick your hand in the guitar and just press on the pegs from the bottom, just to push them out like that. Also, usually most string winders have a little peg removal slot, and you can just kind of pull them up like that, and they fit just great right in there. So we remove all these like that. And now we're going to take them out. And we take them out one at a time. I do recommend you keep the smallest 3 strings because those are the ones that break the most frequently. So you could just coil them up and throw them in your gig bag. It won't hurt. They don't take up too much space. And then now we are ready to install new strings. And if you would like, we have a video on cleaning the fretboard, and this is a perfect time to clean your guitar. So if you want to watch that video, you go ahead and do that right now. Now we're ready to put the new strings on. If you watch the video on how to clean your guitar, then that's great, and we are ready to go. In case you're wondering what strings to use, we've got a separate video for choosing strings. We are going to use 11 gauge custom light D'Addario strings for today's video, and that's usually what we recommend for this guitar. Either 11 gauge or 12 gauge is good for our KLOS guitars. So the first thing I like to do is get all of the holes on the machine heads aligned in this direction. So that'll be much easier for the next step. So now what I do is I take each string. Now the fatter strings have kind of a bulge where the string is kind of wrapped around the circle, the ball, and that bulge right there, what you want to do is you want to take your finger and you kind of want to bend the string a little bit, just like that, so that it angles properly. So you take the string and you put it in like this in the hole. You take this pin and you push the pin down and you kind of lift. You kind of pull the string this way so that it gets wedged. The next thing you want to do is you want to take your string end and put it through this hole, just like that. Again, for this fatter strings, you might want to bend the string just a little bit so that the little bump on the top of the string is facing up. Now I'm going to show you the most ingenious way to get the strings wound just perfectly. This is the ideal string winding measurement chart, and you can download it in the link below with instructions. So basically, sometimes people wind the string too much around the machine head or too little, and sometimes people even break strings because they wind them too little and they need to buy a whole new set of strings. We've strung thousands of guitars, and from our experience, it's just been, we found the perfect length that we want for the string winding, and this size works not just for a KLOS guitar, because we measured it from the end of the machine head. This works for any acoustic guitar. We highly recommend you use this chart. So what you do is you take the string and you just put a little bit of tension on it. You put the ruler up against the end of the machine head, and you take the Sharpie, and I already have it marked, but you take the Sharpie and you mark it at 15 millimeters, just like that. Then you go to the next string. You make sure it's flat all along the fretboard, and you take the ruler again, and the A string, now it says 35 millimeters, so you go like this, and you pull the tension, and you mark it with your Sharpie 35 millimeters. And we do that to all the strings in order. You put the dot that you made with the Sharpie, you put it in the middle of the machine head. So you take the string, you bend it up. Now there's a couple techniques you can use for winding, but the E bass and the E treble, we wind on this guitar a little bit funkier because the machine heads are so close to the nut. What I like to do is I like to wind maybe about a half a turn, and then once I get half a turn finished, you want to put another kink in the string like this. And so you kind of want to make like a Z type shape with the string. I like to put one finger right at the edge of the machine head, and then the other one kind of picks up the slack, and then I like the string to be pointing up, and then I wind. And now the reason you make the Z shape is so that there's tension on the string. For the fat one, for the E bass string, we wind it one under and then over. So see, I went under the string right there, and then for the rest of the wind, I'm going to go over. And then at this point, I'm going to want to take the string and put it underneath, like that. And you don't want to tighten the string too much at this point yet. We're going to want to tighten everything at the end. But at this point you can push down on the peg on the bridge pin so that it's nice and tight. And you can, to get these strings out of the way, you can clip the end just like that. So I'm going to continue winding the strings. Again, I like to first kink the end of the string up and then create about half a turn or maybe 1/3 of a turn, and then I kink the rest of the other side of the string just like that, and then I make a Z with my fingers and I wind the string down. Again, these two strings, the E bass and the E treble, we wind on this guitar a little bit funkier because the machine heads are so close to the nut, but these 4 strings we wind always down. So the string is going to be always, when you wind it, it's always going to be going a little bit lower and lower with each winding, with each wrap. And as you get closer, the tension gets a little bit higher, so you might have to readjust your hand position. You don't want to tighten the string all the way, just a little bit. You want to make sure that the bridge pin is secure, and you can then snip the end of the string. And as you can tell, the string winding size is perfect. Now we are on this last string. Like I said, the E bass string and the E treble string, they wind a little bit differently. With the E treble string, we wind above every wind, we wind up. So we basically, instead of pushing my finger down all the time, I'm basically letting it wind in the up direction. This also means that every time this string end goes through, you have to kind of weave it through. I have to kind of pull it through from under my finger to make sure that it's getting wind properly. Okay, now that we have the strings installed and we have all of the string ends cut, now before we tighten the strings, we want to check if the string spacing is correct on the saddle. Now, whenever you install a new saddle, when a manufacturer installs a saddle, there is no groove where the string goes. So the first time the manufacturer installs strings, the string makes a tiny indentation in the saddle at each spot where the string goes in the saddle. And what they do is they check the string spacing to be perfect so that once the groove is created, it's always going to be in the same place. When you install strings, sometimes if the string is in the wrong place and you tighten it while it's not in the groove, it can create a new groove next to the original groove, and then your string spacing will be off, which you will definitely feel when you're playing the guitar. So that's why we don't tighten the strings all the way every time. We want to keep them loose enough for you to be able to move the string if you have to. You can also stick your finger in to just make sure that the string spacing is equal, and that way you will have a good playing guitar. Once you check all of this, the next thing you want to do is you want to tighten the strings all the way. But if you have an acoustic electric guitar, which this one is an acoustic electric guitars have undersaddle pickups, which sometimes if the saddle is not fully set in the saddle slot on the bridge, it can create sound problems. For example, a guitar can sound louder on the bass notes or in the middle or something like that. So what we do is, this is a good time to push the saddle back and make sure that it's basically in place. If you don't have a little thin piece of wood like this, you can use like a capo and just kind of use the edge of the capo to kind of press the saddle back, just like that. So now that we have that pushed down in place, we know that's in the right spot. We can tighten the strings a little bit more. Now that they're a little bit tighter, we like to do this a second time. And now we're ready to tighten the strings all the way. So the first time I tune a guitar, I just kind of tune it to a fairly close tuning. It doesn't have to be perfect. New strings always require a little bit of stretching. So what I do is I press right in the middle of the sound hole. I make sure that the string doesn't pop off the fretboard like this, but I make sure that it's kind of in that place. And if you press down on the strings like this a couple times, this is a good time to also press down on the bridge pins to make sure that they're all the way down. New strings will always need a little bit of stretching. So basically tune the guitar roughly, stretch the strings, and then tune the guitar to a more precise tuning. Sometimes it takes a couple times to stretch the strings and then retune. I like to do it about 3 times. It'll give you less problems. And now we are done. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and leave any comments or any other advice or any other tips or tricks that you've used. Please comment below, and thanks again.